Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me this evening is a phenomenal woman who I had the chance to recently connect with across social media lines. She's an author, she's a wife, she's a mom, but most importantly, she's a woman of God, and she's taken time out of her very busy schedule to hang out with us for a little while to share a little bit of her journey, a little bit of her story, with the hopes of inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting others. It deals with the tragedies and the challenges and the storms of life that we all encounter at some form in some form of fashion at some point in time in life. Everybody's going through something at some point in time, and we need that bit of encouragement. We need that uplifting spirit. So, with that said, it's my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our special guest this evening, Miss Jazz Singleton. Jazz, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so very much for having me. I appreciate us connecting through social media and you reaching out to me so I can share my story.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we jump into our segments for this evening, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Kind of give our audience a taste of who is Jazz Singleton.
Okay. So let's see here. I am, first of all, I'm from I don't know what y'all know about Texas, but I'm from Greenville, Texas. Little country town. I was raised in the country, so I am most definitely a country girl at heart. As soon as I graduated high school in 1990, I ran to Dallas because for opportunities for jobs, because where I'm from, there's not a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs or anything like that. So I have been in Dallas since 1991, right after graduation. So I am a daughter. My mother is deceased. She died in 1999. I'm a mother. I'm an author, a poet, a comedian, a content creator, a wife, and an employee at some point, entrepreneur to a degree. So I wear a few different hats in life on a daily basis, and I enjoy it. And it's not until I have to list everything that I do that I realize everything that I do. So I do quite a few things.
Hey, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. We know that you're not sitting idle, but you're keeping yourself quite
Absolutely.
busy, doing a lot of great works. As I've been able to learn a little bit on, and prior to reaching out to you, which is of course a big reason why I did reach out to you because I knew you were going to have something special to offer to our audience this evening. So I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to jump right in because I'm anxious to learn more about your story as well as you personally. So you know, anytime I bring guests on the show and I tell everybody that comes on, I think as we reflect on our times, our life journeys and all the experiences and the encounters that we go through, it's really important that we take a few moments to reflect back on where it
Hmm.
all begins. Because I truly do believe that as early as far back as our childhood days, that there are people that we encounter, there are experiences that we have, again, good, bad, or otherwise, that while it may not always make sense in that particular moment in time because we're thinking about all kind of other things, as you get older, you begin to start piecing those things together. The dots begin to connect. The pieces to the puzzle begin to fall into place. Particularly as you start to identify truly what your purpose is in life, why you were even created to begin with, and the works that you were set out to do as God created you to do. So, with that said, I would like to take that moment of opportunity with you and ask you to kind of take us back to the beginning, if you would, and share with us what was it like for you growing up, fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there's any particular challenges that come to mind, you can share that as well. Kind of give us the backdrop of where your story begins.
Okay. To take you back, first and foremost, I was adopted at the age of one, adopted to a great family. And I think being adopted to the family that I was adopted to saved me probably a lot of heartache, a lot of challenges that I could have possibly probably been a teenage mother and those type of things. So I was adopted at the age of one, raised in the country. Like when I say raised in the country, I was raised on a farm. We had pigs
Hmm.
and chickens and a horse named Smokey, and we grew our own vegetables and those type of things. So I am appreciative to being raised that way. Like I was raised in a strict in a strict household Baptist, in church on Sundays all day from Sunday school to 11 o'clock service to 3 o'clock service to being the president or vice president of the BTU. And that was every single Sundays during the week. We went to choir rehearsal, and I was just kind of sheltered to a degree. I think I was sheltered to a degree. I knew kids through school. I didn't hang out until, I was a teenager, probably junior, senior year, because we lived so far. I didn't have a car. And I did not realize back then, I can say it now, I didn't realize back then that we were poor. Like, we just knew that we were getting by. Like, we thought that everybody, lived the same way that we lived. And back in those days, everybody did live the same way. Like, when you would go to the line to to give out the cheese or the milk or whatever it was that they were giving out, the kids were there with their parents. Like, we thought this was normal. We thought this was what everybody did. Um, I was a good student. I loved reading. I did not, I'm a procrastinator. Point blank period. Research papers, and they would give you 6 weeks paper because you had to go get the encyclopedia and you had to look things up. It's not like it is now where everything is at our fingertip. We would have to research and write it out because we didn't have a typewriter. I remember every year I would skip the first 3 classes prior to me turning it in and do my paper and still get a B. So I think I didn't put a lot of effort into schoolwork because it came easy for me. Like, I just thought that I can wait till the last minute and do it and get it done. So, um, graduate 1990, and as soon as I graduated, I moved to Dallas and I got a job, and I worked at Parkland Hospital, and I always wanted to go back to school. But once you get grown and you have bills and you don't live with mama anymore, bills come first, bills come first, bills come first. And so here I am, 53, and I didn't go back to school, but I'm okay with that because I still have a great job. I make great money and I love what I do, and I don't have student loans. So that's a part of who I am, and how I grew up. And in between those times, I had 2 children. They are grown now, 26 and 24. Um, that's who I am in a nutshell. In that time, I've been able to everything that I've set out to do that I wanted to do. I wanted to be an author. I wrote a book. I wanted to be a poet. I stood up and did poetry. I wanted to do I wanted to be a comedian. I've done a couple of shows as a comedian. So I am blessed to be able to put my mind to whatever I want to put my mind to and focus on that long enough to get that accomplished. So that is who I am.
Love that. Love that. First off, again, let me thank you for your transparency and sharing
Mhm.
these early moments of your upbringing, and it's always good to hear stories that where you kind of talk about growing up in a scenario where we didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of things, but it didn't feel like we didn't have it. It was just kind of the norm to us, and unless you've been in that
Absolutely.
situation, you don't really understand what that's like. But you can attest being able to feel that way, usually by the way that the family network is. And when you have a close knit family, when there's love in the household, when things are going, when everybody's just kind of getting along and hanging in there as a family unit, even during the difficult times, you tend to forget about about money being such a big priority, a big deal, because you're just doing life. And as long as we got a roof over our head, we got food on the table, clothes on our back, everything. And like you said, you start to think that everybody's like this.
Hmm.
And if by chance you happen to encounter that person that you think is doing super well, you find out later on in life that, oh, they were probably only about a notch a little bit higher than us, but we thought they were. I had friends like that I thought were
Yeah.
rich, and only discovered they were about as broke as we were. Maybe had a few extra dollars in their pocket, but not
Absolutely.
much. They just looked like it. So just kind of takes you back down. memory lane, so to speak. You and I are very close in
Hmm.
age, and so as you were sharing that, even talking about the days of school and how it's so different and how you do work and research. You may mention about encyclopedias and, and things like that. Kids today would have no clue how to navigate a library card or
Yep.
encyclopedia or anything of that nature. So but I think but also what's powerful about these early points of your journey is that you talked about how things kind of came natural to you, whether it's your love and understanding for reading and writing and poetry and things of that nature. And it would have been very easy for a person like yourself starting off right out the gate, being adopted, maybe feeling like a lot of people who go through that at an early age, they may feel a sense of abandonment, they may feel a sense of isolation, if you will, but you didn't allow that to be a crutch for you. You said, you know what, I'm with this family, they've taken me in, and I'm just going to make the most of my life. And when I think about the works that you do today, and listen to some of the things that you mentioned about the things that you love and the things that you were naturally gifted at, it all makes
Yeah.
sense, which is why I like to take this opportunity to reflect back on those early beginnings, because you could see that none of this stuff was by accident, that you were building upon your experiences, your creativity, and ultimately your gifts, identifying what your gifts were and aligning that with, again, the God-given purpose that you are even here for,
Hmm.
to impact lives, to change, to pour into, whether it's in humor, whether it's in through your comedy, whether it's in just, again, inspiring or encouraging, or just being
Hmm.
expressive. So all of those things are very good, good, not only good traits about you, but again, it sets the platform, or sets the stage, if you will, for the direction that you find yourself
Absolutely.
in today's time, and in the works that you're doing. So appreciate you sharing
So,
that.
and let me
So
let me add
yes, go
this.
ahead.
I was adopted at the age of 1. So I met my biological mother when I was like in third grade, but my mom, who adopted me, who raised me, who was my mother from, I will knock your head between the washer and the dryer if you tell me it's not. She told me from the time I could understand what adopted meant. She
Hmm.
explained that to me, and she told me that I was adopted, that I was chosen. And she did that, and I appreciate her so much for that, because she never gave anybody else the opportunity to make me feel bad about not
Mm.
being a blood relative. So she taught me from a very early age, from the time that I could understand that I was adopted, that I was adopted. Just recently, and I know we'll probably talk about this later, I did my ancestry. And I to this day, I do know who my biological mother is and some of those relatives, but I found people on my biological father's side. I still don't know who he is, but I have communicated with some cousins on that side, and I like them. I love them. Those are my cousins. We've only known each other a couple of years, but we just fit. We click. So
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
blessed to be who I am, and to continue to be here and grow and just try to help other people as much as I can, even if it's through just a testimony.
Hmm. Right, right. And again, this is again, I know we're in the early stages of our conversation this evening, but this is really beautiful because you said, I grew up in a home where there was not a lot of money around, but yet this is in a home with a family who took you in. Like, who you have to be a certain kind of person. You have to be cut from a certain kind of cloth to take someone in, a child, into your home that is not your own, in a situation where you're already struggling financially. This is another mouth to feed. This is another, some more clothes that I got to worry about. This is somebody I got to care for if they get sick and all of those things. But to have who you call, again, your mother, and you said you 10 toes down on it. This is my mother who took me in at the age of 1, loved me unconditionally, brought me in, raised me up to be the woman that I am
Hmm.
today. That speaks volumes about her. And that's why I said it was easy for you all not to necessarily get put so much focus on the amount of money that was available, because from the
Hmm.
beginning, from the moment you get adopted, you're already entering into a space of
Hmm.
love. So and I don't know if you paid attention to our title for this evening for your show. This speaks to what it means to be beautifully flawed. No, you didn't have the ideal scenario where you were able to be raised by your biological parents, but that didn't make you any less valuable. That didn't make you any less significant. That didn't make you any less important. Yeah, the world might consider this to be a flawed situation for your life, but God has taken it and made something beautiful out of it, and that beautiful is you. That beautiful is the work that you're doing. That the beautiful is the impact that you're having on the lives of many in a variety of different fashions and forms, and that's just how He
Hmm.
moves. And what is supposed to be a as per the worldly terms, what is supposed to be a disastrous, reckless situation. You even mentioned it yourself. I could have been, you know, in this situation, or I could have been in that situation, but you
Hmm.
weren't. Was that by accident? Was that by luck? Or is that just an example of what it means to have God's hands all over your
Hmm.
situation and navigating it in a way that He sees fit? And I would go with the
Hmm.
latter,
Hmm.
and saying that this is exactly what this represents. So, which makes your story again even that much more significant. And we're just at the
I just said at the
beginning of it.
beginning.
So, again, appreciate that, because one of the things that I caught about you on your when I first checked out your page, I love the fact that you made note about you couldn't handle half of the things that I that I've been through, that I've survived, and so again, that's to even just to visibly see you for the first time, you're again one of those individuals that you probably don't look like what you've been through. Not that is nothing but God's covering over you to again not allow you to be treated a certain kind of way, be mistreated a certain, like I love you said about your mom talking to you early on about you being adopted because she wanted to make sure that you were protected, that you understood that nobody was going to have an opportunity to step in and make what is otherwise a beautiful sacrifice, make that be a tarnish or
Hmm.
something to ridicule or criticize you about or to make fun of. So that
Right.
again, that's good stuff, and I love that. Um, so Jazz, uh, obviously you had a phenomenal childhood. You grow up, you break free from the country life. You make it to the big city. Like you said,
Hmm.
you get the job. Life is going well. But as as we get older and definitely as we enter into our adult years of life, we're going to have those good experiences. But then every now and then we're going to find ourselves facing a moment in time where we get hit with a storm that hits in a way almost like a gut punch, almost like a ton of bricks falling on top of us. So much so that we might find ourselves in a situation where we don't see a way out. We don't see a way of overcoming whatever that situation is. We feel helpless. We feel hopeless. We feel all alone. And we're questioning, why am I here and how am I going to possibly recover from all of this? So, with that said, if you would, share with us a time that you felt exactly like that you were facing a
I can.
situation that it didn't seem like that there was a way out. Money couldn't get you out of it. A phone call, a hookup couldn't get you out of it. All your titles and your acknowledgments and things that you've achieved in life couldn't get you out of it. It was just you and this storm, and you feeling like you had no way to get out of it. But of course, by the grace of God, you're here today to share whatever the story is going to be. So if you would kind of walk us through what was that situation like for you, and what was ultimately the turning point when you began to see some light at the end of the tunnel and coming up out of
There were storms, not just one.
it.
Were storms. And one of the ones, I'm gonna mention two storms, and they were both health related storms. And those are situations that money can't necessarily get you out of. You have to go through and get through, so to speak. In 2002, I had a brain tumor.
Mm,
It was diagnosed because I was having headaches and all of this stuff. So I actually have a scar from this side of my head to this side of my head for a brain surgery that I had because I had a tumor. That was one storm. But in the more major storm, as though there can be something more major than that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer on September 30th of 2015.
mm,
Wasn't expecting it. Went So I'm going to tell the story because I'm hoping that by me telling this story can help somebody else. Um, I was trying to get a breast reduction, um, and I had to go to the plastic surgeon. Then I had to go get a mammogram, and it was during that mammogram. And sometimes we have plans in our head, like God doesn't God doesn't work in our timing, He works in His timing. And so I was like, okay, it's September. I'm gonna get this breast reduction and I'm gonna get it done at the beginning of, and this was me, my planning in my head, okay? I'm gonna get it done at the beginning. So if I get it done at the beginning of November, that means I should be out through the end of the year. So I can have the whole rest of the year off. No, God said, mm-mm, that's not what we're doing. So something and we need you to come back in. And I was like, okay. So I went back in and they did a sonogram. And no, they did an ultrasound. That was the second thing. They did an ultrasound. And then they were like, well, there's nothing here, but we're worried about this little lump right here. So we can get you scheduled for a biopsy. And I let me see, we can get you in 2 weeks. You can get me in somewhere today or tomorrow. And they were like, well, we don't have any openings. I said, we're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, as big as Dallas is. Somebody somewhere has an opening. I have a car. I can get there. They found me an appointment for the next day. Wasn't their location, but it was like 30 minutes away, not super far. Everything in Dallas is like 30 minutes away. Went there for the biopsy, and that was on a Friday. They told me they would have my results on September 30th, which was, I believe, a Wednesday. I went through that whole weekend. I think I had one friend that I told about it. I didn't tell anybody else about it because in my mind, it wasn't going to be breast cancer. In my mind, it was going to be, I got dressed up that morning. I made my face up, put my clothes on, and I told myself, as soon as I leave this appointment and they tell me it's not breast cancer, I'm gonna go get me another car. I'm gonna trade this car in and I'm gonna get me another car. Went to the appointment, and when I go in, the ladies, she verifies who I am and all this stuff because it's just a meeting with a nurse, and she verifies who I am, and then she tells me that I have ductal infiltrating carcinoma, another form word of breast cancer. And as she's telling me that I have breast cancer, I'm crying. I'm crying. I don't hear anything she says after breast cancer. She's handing me all these little pamphlets and booklets and telling me to look at the American Cancer Society and don't look at different, like WebMD, because, we think we're our own doctor when we go
Right.
in WebMD. And as she's telling me this, she gives me a card of a doctor and she said, this is the doctor that we're recommending you reach out to. And she's still talking. I tuned her out and I called the doctor's office and I'm crying. She's over there talking. I'm on the phone with the doctor's office and I'm like, hello, I was just diagnosed with breast cancer and she wants me to make an appointment. And they're like, when were you diagnosed? Like 3 minutes ago. I need to get in. And so they got me in the next day. My doctor's name was Melissa Kinney. She's in the Irving. And I was her very first patient at her practice.
Mm.
We laugh about that to this day. That was 10 years ago. I was diagnosed September 30th in 3 weeks because it took 3 weeks for me to go through a million appointments, genetic testing, everything under the sun, moon, and stars. And I had my first surgery um, after the Susan G. Komen walk that year. And I did. Let me take it a step back before the surgery. So when I was diagnosed with the breast cancer, me and one of my friends went out to eat. We went to Olive Garden. She bought me a plant, and I am not a plant person. The plant died. I'm still here, but the plant died. Um, I made I called my family members that I'm close to. I did like a three-way call, ended up being like a five-way call, and told them what was going on. I went on Facebook and I made a post about it. It was that Friday. The hardest part of the whole, and I went through a lot, trust me. The hardest part was looking my kids in the face and telling them that I had breast cancer. It broke my heart for my kids to look so brokenhearted, like I wasn't going to be here for them. Like that hurt me more than anything. Um, And I remember a teacher, my kids were good in school. So I remember a teacher she sent a note home and said that my youngest son, Christian, was not doing his work or whatever. So I just sent her a message back. Look, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Cut the boy some slack, okay? He dealing with some stuff right now. And she's like, okay, I'm sorry, I understand. And she kind of worked with him through that process. But I did 8 rounds of chemo, double mastectomy with reconstruction, and I had 3 surgeries, chemo, in a matter of a year because I said by September 30th of 2016, I need to be done. I want all of this done. And I was. I had a triple negative breast cancer, and that is one of the breast cancers that move pretty fast. And especially, and I'm seeing here recently, like 10 years ago, of course, technology has changed and medicine has changed since, I went through it. Even 10 years is a long time, but it doesn't seem like that long ago. But it was typically a breast cancer that for people of color, Black women, people of like Hispanic descent, but I'm seeing more and more Caucasian women that have been diagnosed with it as well. But you probably look at their ancestry, they probably not all Caucasian. So that could have something that could have something to do with it as well. But in the midst of storms, in the midst of challenges, I think that's the one right there. And I just celebrated 10 years of going through that storm. Like, not this Sunday, but Sunday past, the 26th of October. I had a party. We had a good time. We had food. We had a comedian. We had drinks. We celebrated. I invited other people out who were breast cancer survivors themselves to celebrate with me. It wasn't about me. I wanted them to come out so that I could love on them as well as have my people that love on me love on them as well. So that challenge was the challenge of our challenges, in my personal opinion. And while going through the storm, I remember sometimes when I would be at home by myself, I would cry and I would be in so much pain. It was painful. And I'd be like, Lord, I don't understand this. But it wasn't for me to understand.
Mm.
It wasn't, I don't think it was for me to understand because I remember my niece, even when I was early on, diagnosed, she called me because she had another friend that was diagnosed. And even though I'm going through it myself, I'm like, okay, here, this is what I did, this is what you're supposed to do. I think it was never about me. I think God knew that He could give me this challenge, this storm, and I could get through it. But not only could I get through it, I could encourage somebody else that's going through the same thing. I think I handled my storm with grace. I was bald headed because my hair came out, my eyebrows came out, and I remember one day at work because I went through hot flashes. Chemo made me go through hot flashes. I was at work one time and it was hot, and I was like doing this, and I rubbed my face and rubbed my whole eyebrow off, and I was like, I'm gonna walk around with one eyebrow today. Y'all know what it is. I'm already bald headed. Y'all know this chemo done took my hair, so y'all gonna have to deal with this. So it's just making light of a heavy situation sometimes that will sometimes help you get through it. I had friends that are comedians, they would invite me out to go to comedy shows, and I just had a village. And I think I reach out to so many people because everybody doesn't have that village.
Mhm.
Everybody doesn't have someone that they can call on or somebody that just will reach out to them. What you doing today? I got a comedy tickets. I need you to come out. So that was a challenge of our challenges right there. But I'm still here. So, and I'm grateful, and I don't look like what I've been through. So unless I tell you that I've gone through the things that I have gone through, you wouldn't know what I went through because I tell people all the time, watch how you talk to me. God, I'm one of God's favorite people.
Mm.
You watch how you treat me. Watch how y'all treat people sometimes.
Wow. Wow.
God
Um,
don't play about me.
absolutely not. That's evident just by your story.
Yeah.
That is completely evident. Again, thank you for your transparency and sharing that. Congratulations on reaching that 10-year mark.
Yes, Lord.
I know it can't be easy to, you know, even after 10 years, I'm sure, that this is
It's
something, as you
scary.
said, that, you never, it's one of those things that you never get over. It's one of those things, despite you being healed from it and all. It's something that you'll always remember. But I think one of the important things that you pointed out was the fact about just how storms work in general, that, a lot of times when we're going through, and part of it is just our human nature. We try to make it about ourselves. We victimize ourselves. We, woe is me, feel sorry for me, and that kind of thing. But the way God uses storms, sometimes those storms are for instructional purposes, but then sometimes He's giving you that storm because He's designated that you're going to be able to handle it with His help, of course, with His covering. But the
Hmm.
whole purpose of you going through the storm is that it was never about you. It
Hmm.
was instead to equip you, because He had an assignment that 10 years ago you didn't even know was in the works. But He had an
Hmm.
assignment that said, I'm going to take you through this moment in life. It's going to be by far one of the most challenging that you'll ever experience in all your years on the face of this earth. But I have a greater purpose in this storm. And one day, when you are healed, when you are stronger, when your faith is built up at levels that it's never been before, you're going to be able and be in position to come alongside to pour into some people that I'm going to send your way that are going to need to hear what you have to say. They're going to be feeling downtrodden. They're going to be feeling like is that they're again that there's no way out of this. But you're going to be that beacon of light for them to know that if it was possible for her, then maybe the same thing can happen for me. If God thought enough about her, if He answered her prayers, maybe He'll answer mine too. Maybe He'll show me that same grace.
Hmm.
Maybe He'll show me that same mercy, and I too can not just be a survivor, but I can thrive.
Hmm.
Because it's not enough for me to just get better. It's about me doing better, and one of the ways I can do better is that I could take a painful moment in my life, be transparent, be vulnerable, and share that by pouring into some other people who may not be as strong as me, may not have, as you said, may not have that circle of friends or family members that they can call on. They may be dealing with this ugly disease all by themselves, and
Yep.
you wouldn't want to wish that on your worst enemy. So for you to have gone through, weathered the storm, um, and then come out the way that you did, like I said, not looking like what you've been through, but then also saying, you know what, it's not just enough for me to be healed. God has purposed me to be a vessel, to be a healing to other people,
Hmm.
emotionally, mentally, educating them on how to process this thing. So maybe they don't even have to go through some of the same obstacles and hurdles that I had to go through, because now I'm informed. I'm able to help make this
Hmm.
process as smooth as you can possibly make it in spite of the circumstances. So your
Right.
story is definitely a testament, and we're not even glossing over the fact that before that you had already dealt with the brain tumor. So it's like, let's not forget, to my listeners, let's not forget that as while we're
Let's
all
not
caught up in the
forget.
breast cancer, ordeal, there was a brain
Hmm.
tumor situation that happened before that, which
Yeah.
is just as critically
If not more so.
sensitive, if not more so, because
Hmm.
there are people who even go through brain surgeries that don't come out the same, having to
Absolutely.
relearn everything, the most basic of
Hmm.
functions, because if just the right part of the brain gets impacted, it can totally reverse years of things that you learned and grew to know, that now all of a sudden you
Hmm.
gotta recapture, just to talk, to walk, to feed, to dress, to
Absolutely.
all of those things. So you got a double whammy,
I'm
but
grateful that in all the situations, be it the when I was first diagnosed with the brain tumor, that I had praying doctors,
mm,
that those doctors knew that they were not God, that those doctors knew that the gift that they had and their gift to heal people wasn't their own, that it came from God. And so I remember, and let me also throw this in there, having good insurance don't hurt. So having good insurance does not hurt because I've seen people go through what I went through with breast cancer, and I did mine within a year. Thank goodness. I remember my doctor got privileges. My plastic surgeon got privileges to come to the hospital because he wasn't privileged at that hospital. Got privileges to come to the hospital and do my surgery.
Mm.
I had a team of doctors that when the day I went into my first surgery, they was in there with my family praying before they took me back there. So I'm grateful and thankful that everybody who has worked on me in my time of need when I was having these health scares saw a sense of urgency, number one, because I know a lot of times Black women voice is not always heard
Mm-hmm.
when we're stating that we're in pain, that we're stating that something is wrong with us. I don't know if they think that we're overreacting or whatever the case may be, but they don't always hear us. Thank God I had doctors who heard me. Thank God I had doctors who saw the sense of urgency that we need to do what we need to do in order to make her better. So I am grateful to them because there are some doctors, because I used to work at Parkland Hospital back in the day when I was younger, before I had kids and responsibilities. And some of those doctors thought that, not even doctors, they were students, they weren't even official doctors yet, thought they were God's gift to earth. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm listen, I'm grateful and I'm glad that the person that I was when I was younger, that that's not who I grew into be. I'm glad that I developed patience. I developed kindness. I developed compassion for other people and what they could possibly be experiencing. So,
And that's important because you know people can sometimes just be a certain kind of way to other folks, lacking empathy, lacking the compassion, the concern. But what happens when it's your turn?
hmm,
Whatever your turn looks like, whether it's
yep,
a breast cancer diagnosis, a brain tumor diagnosis, a loss of a job, a divorce,
hmm,
or something. What happens then? You're going to want people to come alongside and be supportive and pour into you and care.
hmm,
But if that's not how you carry yourself, if that's not how you do other people, then you kind of have to, not be confused as to why all of a sudden the people who you thought would be there are mute.
hmm,
I don't hear them. I don't hear from them. I don't see them. Nobody's checking on me. So yeah,
hmm,
how you carry yourself, how you've matured, like you said, how you've grown, all of those things play a role. That when it's your time, because it's again, when it comes to the storms of life, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
hmm. It's a win.
When my time comes, whatever that looks like, who is there, visibly or behind the scenes, who is there to support, to encourage, to keep me afloat, if you will, as I'm going through what I'm going through. So, um, this is definitely a powerful topic that we're talking about, and considering the state of the world right now, healthcare in
Mm,
general being at the
yeah,
forefront of the news right now.
yeah.
To your point about having insurance, one, having good insurance, but then we take it even deeper, folks who just don't have the insurance, and why affordable health insurance is so critical, why nobody should be going through life
Without
not having
insurance.
access to it, and why is it such a
Hmm,
fight, why is it such a battle. I know that there's a conversation for another day, but
hmm,
the timing of your story speaks to the very thing that we're battling with right now, where you literally have
hmm,
people in power and authority who could make a decision to make this possible for people who go through some of, not even going through even the major stuff that we talked about. I could just be
hmm.
dealing with some basic
Yeah, back
medical
hurting.
needs. My back hurt, my foot hurt,
Yeah,
something, just something that's basic, but I can't get proper medical treatment, proper medical assistance. But if I'm fortunate, if I'm blessed to have that insurance, all of a sudden it's like night and day in how I'm treated, the accesses that I have, the doctors that I get, the way I'm handled, versus just otherwise perhaps just being dismissed,
hmm,
or possibly just throwing a bunch of medications that you haven't even figured out if this is the right stuff for me. You just giving it to me just to get me
hmm.
out of the way and on to the next, like a factory line, if you will.
And,
So.
and and to that, I want to add a little smoke to that. It's also how you talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the doctor's office, if I think sometimes they will take you less serious if your vernacular is not of a certain caliber.
Mm.
If you're not, if you don't sound as educated, I think they let a lot of stuff slide sometimes with that. Or if you go in there and you're talking crazy to people, nobody wants to help you when you're talking crazy to them. Like, that's their job. Yes, their job is to save your life, but their job, I don't think their job is to give you their best care. I That's with everything. Customer service, the hospital, the health industry, whatever it is that we're dealing with. How you treat people sometimes is how you're treated, and people don't get that.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't get that.
One other
Yeah.
thing I wanted to ask you before we move forward in our segments. I know you said that initially your original plan was you were going in to get um, breast
Breast
reduction.
reduction. Hmm.
What I'm curious to know is prior to that, prior to this moment happening, were you someone who did your regular
Yes.
breast exams and things of that nature?
I'm gonna give you even better than that. The same day that I went to go have my mammogram, I went to go see my OB-GYN.
mm-hmm,
She did her own exam and didn't feel the lump. It was only the mammogram that caught it. So I did my regular exams. My doctor,
mm-hmm,
OB-GYN, MD behind her name, did her own exam and she didn't even catch it. So it is imperative that, and I didn't know necessarily what my family history was because I'm adopted.
mm-hmm.
So it's imperative to get those mammograms
Okay. Yeah, and the
because
reason.
a mammogram could be the difference between an obituary and a
Mm,
testimony. And I
oh,
say that all the time. Going to get checked out is the difference between an obituary and a testimony. I
wow.
think I'm a coin that.
I think you need to for somebody. You don't. You need. You definitely need. You need to coin that. Some. I know somebody.
Yeah,
We don't want nobody to take that because
yeah.
that's an original, powerful
Hmm.
point of view. And the reason why I was asking you about, was this something that you were you getting regular mammograms or things like that, was because unfortunately we live in a day and time where you have people who are only going to the doctor for cosmetic reasons, not
Hmm.
necessarily for just general, making sure, wellness checks to make sure that
Hmm.
this is in order, this is in order,
Right.
that kind of thing. So I wanted to highlight that, and you did a good job in your response of saying, reinforcing the idea, ladies, in this particular case, since we're talking about, breast cancer, making sure that you are getting your, mammogram screenings on a regular basis, and don't just see the doctors out here as an opportunity to do the latest cosmetic. In your case here, you were reducing, but we
Yes.
but we know that we have a lot of young ladies and even some seasoned ladies who
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
going in to make it bigger, and not only
Absolutely.
doing and doing it at a high risk
Risk.
level to their overall health conditions. And I'm sure
Definitely.
you've heard the many stories about
Hmm.
how these different
Death.
injections and things of that nature
Hmm.
have led to death, or led to certain body deformities and all kind of crazy stuff that's going on, all because we're trying to live up to a standard of, again, social media is a big part of it, and reality TV and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to put ourselves out there, but putting our personal bodies at risk in the process. So,
Hmm. And this could be a whole nother topic as well, but I think that how you feel about yourself
mm-hmm,
and your own level of confidence and your own level of self-worth and your own level of self-love plays a huge part in that. You trying to appease or make a you're trying to be valid to people who not even valid themselves.
mm, so true.
Like you're wanting to satisfy the masses, and the masses do not care whether you have a big butt or big breast or whatever the case may be. How do you don't That's how you feel about yourself. That it has absolutely nothing, in my personal opinion, to do with the outside world and what you're trying to do for them. That has everything to do with your self-love and your self-worth.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. That
Um,
has
and,
everything to do with you. And you don't think that you're worthy of these people unless you got a big butt. Unless you got these, and I've seen these people. I seen one of my coworkers and she went and had her lips done, and I could not get past this one lip that this top lip that was over. I was like, it looked like a bee bit her.
wow. See, it's that kind of
um,
stuff. Like, but like you said, a lot of that time, a lot of that begins with how you're thinking about yourself, what's going
oh
on
yeah,
your
how you feel
inside.
about yourself?
So we're talking about self care here, we're talking about self
Hmm.
love here, but we're also, and this is not a knock against those who choose to do certain cosmetic type of procedures, or whatever. But we're just saying, to anybody tuning in, we're just saying prioritize the making sure that you are overall healthy, and by doing the necessary steps and having your exams and things like that, and even
Hmm.
for men, same thing, because and I've been guilty of it myself. um you know Not prioritizing things like getting physicals and taking those particular exams as you reach certain milestones and age
Hmm.
that you should be
Hmm.
doing, just to make sure everything's
That you're okay.
good, so that it's not something, because while breast cancer may be a predominant thing amongst women, amongst men, you got men battling with things like prostate cancer,
Prostate.
and or in some cases it could be testicular cancer or some of the other
Hmm.
type of things that we're just kind of, I'm a man, I'm all right, I don't need that, I'm good, I feel all right,
Hmm.
but not understanding that if we don't take the time out to do that, as you said, could be the difference between the obituary and the
Obituary
testimony.
and
Which one you
absolutely,
want? Me personally, I would prefer the testimony.
absolutely.
I know one day an obituary will come into play, but I'm not trying to rush that. So I'm glad that you're sharing your story, even though you're doing it from a woman's perspective. It also, to me, it speaks to men. It should be not only me personally, but any men that are listening to the broadcast this evening. This is a lesson for us as well, to make
Hmm.
sure that we're doing our part in terms of our own personal bodies, but then also thinking about the other women who might be in our lives, whether it be wives, moms, sisters, daughters,
Hmm.
nieces. Again, using your testimony to say to them, hey, don't let this thing just be something that you just overlook. Don't get so busy with the day-to-day of life, the work, the
Hmm.
bills, the family, and all that kind of stuff, that you somehow neglect you in the process, because it's very easy to do, but it's a painful price to pay if you let it go too long unchecked. So
Hmm.
again, this is
Yeah,
this is good that we're having this conversation in light of
yeah,
the traumatic moment that you had to go through. But again, thankful to God that He saw you through,
yeah,
and you're here today to even tell the story, and do
yes,
it in a way where you're no longer. It's not about a badge of shame or anything like that, but being a living testimony of how God's, you know, being in relationship with Him, and
absolutely.
how He can just make ways out of no way. So perfect example of that. So Jazz, if you, I should say, well, when you think about, we've talked about some very heavy stuff, obviously brain tumors,
Hmm.
breast surgery, breast cancer, things of that nature. But we know that sometimes storms are at that level, and then sometimes storms are just the day to day life and type stuff. Whether it's a random car problem or some unexpected bill, or something,
Hmm.
somebody's acting a fool on the job or whatever. What I'm curious to know, however, from you is, when you do find yourself dealing with challenging times, again, whether it's major or minor, what is it that you specifically like to tap into, routine wise, regiment wise, that kind of works best for you as you're trying to process through whatever that challenge of the day is? What does that look like for you when you're in that moment?
I have to breathe
Okay.
sometimes. I just have to take a step back and look at the picture. How is this going to affect me in 5 minutes, in 5 hours, in 5 months, or in 5 years? If this particular situation in 5 minutes won't even be relevant to me, why am I giving it my energy?
Mm,
If this person is not someone that I love and value and have to deal with on a daily basis, why am I giving them my energy? I I let a lot of stuff slide. And the reason that I do, normally I will say what I gotta say and then go on about my life, and y'all just deal with what I said, or it is what it is. Because stress is a killer.
mm-hmm,
It's a silent killer. Stress will have you with high blood pressure and all these health issues. I've had enough health issues to last me two lifetimes. I'm not going to allow somebody to stress me out. So I don't sweat the small stuff. Like, and it's all small stuff. Like, I don't argue with people. I'm gonna say what I gotta say. And if you feel as though you need to argue, you can argue by yourself. I don't get loud and rah rah and raise my voice and all that stuff. For what? Trying to see who talks the loudest? Girl, bye. Ain't nobody got time for all that. Like, how does this affect me? Because when you get to a certain stage, something to lose. You should be looking at like, oh, what do I have to lose by going through this madness or whatever the case may be, and walk away. But one of the things that I do for my healing is I like to shop. It
Retail
makes me
therapy.
feel retail. It is not even all retail therapy. I'm a perfume fanatic, and
Okay.
so I will spend my last dollar on some perfume. Like, not real life, but I would go buy perfume before I would buy a whole bunch of other stuff. So
Hmm.
I love perfume, and that's my therapy. I like to go smell perfume. I like to go make perfume. So things that make me happy, like just reading a book, listening to a book. I like audible books. I like to read. I like to watch TikTok. And I think I'm on TikTok because I'm a content creator. So it's just the simple things in life that plan a vacation. There's so many things to do outside of letting life stress you out.
I love that approach. I think the first thing that jumped out at me that you made mention of was that when you find yourself in a moment of storm, you take the time to breathe. Because I think it's important if you're going to be able to hear from God, to get that direction, to get that guidance, as you stated, on how is this going to impact me 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years from now. The first thing that I got to do in order to be able to hear from Him is I got to kind of clear my head, and
Hmm.
so touching in, tapping into something as what we consider to be something as simple as breathing. Just let me take a deep breath. Let me just calm down. Let me get my emotions out of it. Let me just relax. For some people, it may let me go take a walk. You may mention about, I like to go shop, and specifically, and I loved how you pointed. I love the smell of perfume. Let me tap into something that aligns with my sensories, that brings
Hmm.
me joy, that brings me
Hmm.
happiness. If you can get into that space, now, if I had to go back to this situation that I'm up against, I'm going back with a much clearer perspective. My face is not all tore up and twisted. I'm calm. I'm ready to receive whatever it is that I need to receive from God to pour into me to say, okay, Jazz, this is what you got going on. It's not that deep. Don't let whoever get up under your skin. Don't let this bother you. Don't let that situation get the best of you. That's nothing but the enemy trying to get you all
Hmm.
riled up to
Hmm.
overreact. This is how you handle it. Follow my lead, and you're gonna be good. And so it's
Hmm.
clear that that's kind of been your routine, your regimen. And I think for anybody tuning in that doesn't currently have um, a go-to regimen, a go-to routine, Jazz has kind of shared with you some very basic, simple things that you can do to kind of start that process off, so you don't freak out, so you don't overreact, so you don't run the risk of making a knee-jerk reaction to a situation and take it from here to up here when it didn't even have to be all of that, making it matter
Absolutely.
worse than what it needed to be.
Absolutely.
And then I think the last thing about what you said too is just learning, and this is a sign of maturity and spiritual growth when you just learn what to give and what not to give your energy to. What to entertain and what not to entertain. I'm just not gonna do that. I'm not.
Mm-mm. Not
I'm
gonna
like you
do
said.
it.
I'm
And
gonna
I
say
got
what I
stuff to
say.
lose.
I'm gonna speak my piece. You can either receive that or not. I'm not going to feel some kind of way either way. I told you what I thought about it. And once I decided that I no longer want to engage in this conversation, then that's it. You do with it what you want to do with it. If that
Hmm.
makes me come off as being rude or disconnected or whatever, however you see fit is what you see fit. I understand that at the end of the day, my peace matters. My my calmness matters, my
Hmm.
joy matters. And in order for me to sustain that, in order for me to keep it all in perspective, I just can't let things get or individuals get up under my skin like that, because it creates a stress that my body, that's already been through enough as it is, doesn't need to have more of that, especially when it's coming from a place of insignificance and irrelevance. So we're not gonna do that. And I
And you
love
have
that. Yeah. Go ahead.
and you have to realize that we are all a villain in somebody's story, and I'll be
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And no matter how good of a person you are a villain. There is somebody out there that
Who
you
can't
are the
stand you?
villain in their story.
Yes. You're
Mm-mm,
right.
can't stand me. And
Ain't did nothing
sometimes
to
people
him.
can't stand you because you're right. They can't stand you because of how other people love you.
That's true. So true.
Yeah. So I'll be the villain. I'll be her. I'll be her.
I love that. Love that.
I'll be the villain.
Very well said. So, so Jazz, when you reflect back on all the experiences of life, good, bad, highs, lows, ups, downs, everything in between, if you had the chance to sit across the table from the younger Jazz, the Jazz who, is just a small town country girl who, navigated her way through life, and then she hits a brain tumor, and then she hits breast cancer. Just you've been hit in ways that a lot of people haven't, but nevertheless here you are, still standing strong, still upright, still using this as an opportunity to be a blessing to others. If you could talk to younger Jazz and share with her some insights, some nuggets of wisdom that you think might have helped her maybe even navigate those difficult times in life just a little bit better than perhaps she that she did. Or just take into consideration that to some of our listeners that tune in, we might have some listeners right now who are having a breast cancer battle or some type of health battle, and they don't have that circle. They don't have people that they can call upon and rely upon to just be there for them and to keep them encouraged or what have you. What would you say to those listeners as well as to younger Jazz that you think would be of good advice, of good encouragement?
Hmm. To anyone right now that is currently going through breast cancer or scared to go to the doctor because maybe a family history of breast cancer, it's easier to heal something once you know about it than to let it go on where it's too late, where it there's nothing that they can do. When you find out about breast cancer in the early stages of life, I mean the early stages of breast cancer, there are options. There are ways that you can heal through this. One thing I do want to say to you that when I was going through breast cancer at the very beginning, when I initially announced on social media that I had breast cancer, I got so much unsolicited advice from people who had never gone through what I had gone through. Pray, pray, and pray some more. Listen to people, or I mean, don't listen to anybody. Listen to your doctors. You don't have to take any unsolicited advice that anybody gives to you. Because I remember people telling me all the time, well, you should do the holistic way. You shouldn't do chemo because that's putting poison in your body. Putting Doritos in your mouth is poison to your body too. But ain't nobody saying nothing about that. And this is what I had to tell people. I said, I don't know anybody who has gone through it the holistic way that I can reach out, touch, have a conversation with, and they can tell me that 20 years later, 10 years later, 5 years later, they are still here. But I know several people who have gone through chemo, even though it's poison to your body, that are still here to tell the story. You do what's best for you, regardless of what your family has to say, regardless of what your friends have to say. If you feel that going through chemo treatment is the best option for you, you go through chemo treatment. Listen to you, listen to God, listen to God. If I could tell younger Jazz something, go to school. Go get girl, go get your degree and run up that damn and, and run up that student loan so you have student loan like like everybody else. Okay. No, younger Jazz. I'll say this about younger Jazz. God protected younger Jazz when she didn't have the good sense to protect herself.
Mm,
Like I did not, and I say that because I remember I used to work at Parkland. I worked 11 to 7. So overnight, even on your off days, you up in the middle of the night, right? I lived in Dallas. I lived in Irving at the time by myself. I would get up in the middle of the night. Nobody knew where I was at. I was going to the Waffle House. I was going here. Like I was out and about in these streets in the middle of the night. Nobody knew where I was. Thank God it's not the day and time that we're in now. I could have came up missing and nobody knew which direction I went. I was, where to even start looking for me. So I am thankful to God that He protected me when I did not have the good common sense to protect myself. I don't save more money. I think that would be one. Protect your credit. That would be another because I've had good credit, I've had bad credit, I've messed up my credit. We all have because life be lifing sometimes. And
mm,
if, like, even when I went through breast cancer, the first thing that went, credit cards. The day I was diagnosed, I got rid of Planet Fitness, Netflix, and anything else that was a reoccurring charge. Credit cards was the last thing to go. But like younger Jazz would, I would tell her, stop going to your 401k just so you have money to go on a trip. That's what I would tell her. Girl, that you gonna need that money when you get old, girl. That's what I would tell her. Your 401k should be more than what it is, okay, Jazz? Because when you was younger, you was out there buying stuff and going on trips and doing stuff with your phone. You shouldn't have did that, Jazz. Don't do that. Younger Jazzes of the world, don't do that. Stay out of your
mhm,
401k because you're gonna need it one day. We may grow and be old and be of retirement age.
mhm,
we gonna need and we gonna need that money because clearly the government does not care about us, nor are they gonna do anything to us or for us. So you better have your own coins.
So true. So true. I mean,
So yeah,
even in light of the conversation that we've been having this evening, I mean,
yeah.
what am I going to do if I have this
What if I
unexpected
have breast cancer? Yeah.
medical diagnosis? If I don't have insurance or my insurance is watered down and doesn't cover very much, how do I
Yeah.
supplement the difference? And so you begin to think about things like
Yeah.
that. And I've oftentimes had those same conversations myself. You do the same question I asked you, speaking to my younger version, like, I wish I would have done things a little bit different to prepare for those unforeseen circumstances so that when they do arise from the financial standpoint of it, it's not so stressful because, again, we
Hmm.
talked about that earlier. We take an already stressful moment and make it more stressful because we didn't do proper preparation, thinking somehow we were
Hmm.
going to be invincible, that it would never happen to us, that
Hmm.
everything is always going to go smooth and hunky dory with no problems, only to find out that you are just as human as everybody else, that nobody immunes you, excuse you from the list of the health challenges or the job losses or the divorces or any of those other
Hmm.
things that can cost people, men or women, a bunch of money in some fashion
Hmm.
or form. So,
Yes.
so yeah, you're absolutely right. Especially when you think about these days and times that we're in, how important it is when you hear people talk about the multiple streams of income. When you think about the
Have to.
having the savings, having that nest egg, it's not always as easy. It's easier said than done, but it is necessary. And whether it's something you've never done and you need to get back on that track now or not, you know, better now than never, so to speak, because you just don't know. You just don't know, and you don't want to, be left out in the cold or be in a situation where you can't provide for yourself in the midst of a storm. But ultimately, I guess if there's an ultimate takeaway in all of those things that we just got through talking about, those are resources that you do want
Hmm.
to make sure you manage properly. But never forget who the ultimate source is. Is there's a difference between the
Absolutely.
source and the resources. The resources can come and
Absolutely.
go, but the source is
Yes.
always constant. And that's
Absolutely.
ultimately, so I've had a many a time when the money was short, but because I knew who the source was, I didn't go without. There was never a lack,
Uh-huh.
despite what the bank account said.
Yes.
On paper, it said you supposed to be homeless, car supposed to
Uh-huh.
be repoed, you starving,
Uh-huh.
and all that.
Uh-huh.
But then none of those things happened, and I can't even verbalize how it happened, other than to tell you that it was because of the source that made it so.
Absolutely.
Not because of anything that
Absolutely.
I did, not because I got a whole bunch of rich relatives and friends and family, because I don't. Um, but somehow, some way, it worked out. Not because of luck, not by chance, but because of the source. So yes, yes. So we definitely want to make sure you don't walk away with
Absolutely.
nothing else in what we've talked about this evening. There's a source that's responsible for it all, and that's why it's so
Everything.
important to have that connection, have that relationship. So Jazz, this has been a an awesome conversation with you. I'm so glad that you accepted the invite to be on the show. You shared such a powerful story, so transparently, so vulnerable, so authentic, so genuine. And while this is a difficult conversation to have, it's a necessary conversation to have. And I appreciate you being so willing and open to sharing that. You've blessed me, you've blessed my listeners, and I'm thankful that we had the opportunity to connect as we did across social media lines, and that we're here today, officially meeting one another and building this relationship and sharing with our listeners this evening. So appreciate you for that. But
Absolutely.
as is customary, of course, here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, before I let you go, we do want to take an opportunity to celebrate you, to lift you up, to love on you. So if you got anything that's going on now or coming up down the road, things that you're a part of, involved in, activities or what have you, please share with us all about it,
Um,
how people can
I
connect,
believe
all
you
that good
asked
stuff.
me, did I have any? Okay, so I
Yes.
do have something. So you know, I'm an author. I
Hmm.
am a poet, comedian. I am a content creator over on TikTok, Jazz the Claim Professional. Um, Jazz Claim Professional. I think that's what it is. I think so. But I have my latest book,
Hmm.
and I hope you can see it. It's called If I Die Tonight.
Yes.
And so, what it is, it's a practical guide for getting your affairs in order before you go. So, the chapters, and I'm just going to read a couple of chapters to you. Chapter one is your personal information and vital statistics. Medical information is chapter two. Contacts, chapter three. Your final arrangements, chapter four. Your financials. Who do you owe? Beneficiaries, a basic will, letter to loved ones. It is basically a book to put all of your information in one spot. So when you do go, your people know what it is that you want. They know if there's a life insurance policy out there. Should be no fighting over who gonna get the shoe collection, who gonna get this over here, because many a family have fell out behind death and money.
Hmm.
Death and money are the things that families fall out behind. And I didn't want that to be my situation. Like I have two sons. I've already made arrangements for my funeral. I know what I want done. There is to be a funeral and then there's to be a cremation. We not throwing thousands of dollars in the ground when that's money that my children are going to need. You know, and my children, they my babies, even though they're grown, but they'll still need that money. Whether they want to
Hmm.
use that money to start a business, whether they want to give it to a charity, put a down payment on a house, whatever the case may be, I want them to know that I cared enough about them to make these arrangements so it wouldn't be hard on them. And
Hmm.
then nobody else can try to tell them, well, your mama would have wanted XYZ. You don't know what their mama would have wanted. So I just put it together in one place where everybody can get one of these books. They're $20. You fill it out, you put it with your life insurance policy, you put it with any documents that you have that were important, your will, all of that stuff in one place, so that when you go, they know what funeral home's supposed to come pick you up. They know what you want done. They know who it is they need to contact, be it your job, the phone number to your HR at your job. So if you have a life insurance policy with them, that can be taken care of. One last thing, POD, payable on death. And a lot of people don't even know that that exists. And what that is something that anyone that can hear me needs to check with their banking institute just to make sure that if you were to die, that your that there's a beneficiary on file, not only on file, but if they were to bring your death certificate and their ID there, that they can close out that account and get those monies instead of it going into probate and having to wait for however long that would take. But make sure that you have payable upon death or on death on all of your policies. And let people know where you got your money at because I promise you, Bank of America, Chase, Navy, Fed, and any other bank is not going to call your loved one talking about, now you know your mama got some money over here. They're not going to do it. That money is going to stay there. It's going to go to the state until it's to a point where I guess it goes into probate and they determine where the money goes at that point. Let people know where your money is and who you want it to go to.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
That is definitely vital information. As you were sharing that, it made me immediately think, and I talked about this in my own book. There was a part in there where I talked about the death conversations or the death
mhm,
talks that I used to have with my mom, and
mhm,
I hated having them because I didn't want to process the idea of my mom no longer being here. Even though I knew that the day would come when she wouldn't, I didn't want to think about that. But I was so thankful in when it finally did happen that we had those conversations because everything that you laid out in the book was essentially verbalized in conversation. So I knew what to do. And
what
she
she
would tell
wanted.
me, I don't want, she said, I know you're going to be upset when this happens. She said,
Mhm,
but what I don't want to do is add extra stress upon
mhm,
you. I want you to know exactly what my wishes are, where everything
mhm,
is, who I said gets, like you mentioned, because my mother was a big shoe fanatic. Who gets
mhm,
this? Who gets that? Because you
mhm,
will have people
mhm.
coming up to you. Oh, your mother always said that I was
She
so
said I
nice
could
in
have
that,
her
so she told me
hat.
I could had
Mhm.
it. So they told me, and so when people, because people, as much as you think that that won't happen, people did come up
Oh,
to
they
me,
will.
and
They
and
did.
all I could hear was my mom's voice in my head, and of course me looking at them sideways, like, first of all, I know my mom never told you that.
Right.
In fact, you might have been on a list of somebody she said, do not, under any circumstances, let them be up in my house digging through stuff because when I did need their help and assistance, they were nowhere to be found. But
Mhm,
now they're going to be
mhm,
the ones that
mhm,
everything that she told me would happen, happen. But again, in the end, to your book, which is why it's so vital, is that you have that plan and knowing what your loved one wants. It alleviates the stress. It allows the process. It allows your grieving process to actually
mhm,
get kick started a little bit quicker because you know what was expected of your loved one as in their passing, but then you now can begin to go through your journey of healing because instead of, like you said, dealing with the fights with the families and the
mhm,
members and all these other folks, everybody got an opinion and a thought. We should have the burial here. We should have a funeral here. We should do this. No, it was very clear what was
mhm.
wanted, and this is what it is. You're either going to participate or
Or
you're not.
not.
So everything that you said is so critical, and even down to just making sure again that somebody actually knows where your information is because
Absolutely.
I know of another situation of someone that I used to work with passed away who he had those things in place, but he was so secretive in his personal affairs that nobody knew. So when it was time for his family to try to make those arrangements, they did not know. They were scrambling trying to figure out how to take care of it all. And fortunately, in their case, they just happened to come across a credit card after rambling through his entire home to that happened to work and
Find
had
everything.
enough money on it to pay for everything. But there was
Hmm.
much more things that were left on the table in bank accounts and other things, property, things of that nature that they couldn't
Hmm.
even begin to do
Touch
anything with because they don't know anything
that it
about
was
it.
even out there.
Yeah, and it's been many years later, and who knows? Some of that same stuff could still be sitting out there, and nobody
Absolutely.
ever claimed it or anything like that. So these are very real things that happen. We get tired of seeing folks having to deal with the trauma of loved one passing, and the next thing you know, there's a post on social media talking about my GoFundMe, you know, to bury my loved one and all this kind of stuff. I mean, that's a lot.
And let me say this, it is unfair. I'm going to say a couple of things. People may not agree with me, but that's okay. First of all, it's unfair to make someone else responsible for your financial irresponsibility.
Hmm.
That's not fair to other people, right? Another thing is if there is no insurance out there, it is also unfair for you to ask the general public to raise $15,000, $20,000 for a burial. Y'all better raise about $3,000 for a cremation and go on. Now, that may not be a popular opinion, but now, here it is. You shouldn't be trying to get no horse and carriage and you didn't even have no insurance, okay? Let's be clear. Let's not try to airbrush these caskets when you didn't have no insurance in the first place. Now, if it's a child, if it's a tragedy, that's a little different story. But if you a whole adult out here in these streets living your best life on a daily basis, and you going to the club and you popping bottles and buying sections and all this stuff, it's disrespectful to your family because you're not embarrassed. You dead and gone. Who should
Hmm.
be embarrassed is your family because they sitting up here having to beg, borrow, and steal and raise cash out and sell plasma and everything else to try to get some money to bury you. Now, if
Yeah.
it was me, I'd be done cremated you and went on with my life. But that's just me. Yeah. Listen, what day y'all doing cremations over here? Okay, we're gonna go on and throw him on up. You better donate them to UT Southwest Med or something because it's unfair for you to ask for the general public to raise $15,000, $20,000 for you to have a horse and carriage and you couldn't even afford that yourself. I've never asked
Mhm.
anybody to pay for anything that I can't afford myself, and that's unfair.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's
It
just me.
it is unfair to put your family in that predicament to have
Hmm.
them all running wild trying to figure out what to do.
Hmm.
Like I said, even if
Hmm.
your situation was such that you just can't afford to maintain insurance or what have you, again, make it clear as to this is what you do. I don't have anything left, so just keep it simple, keep it plain. If it means that that's what you have to do, then that's what you got to do. But
Contact the funeral home. Contact your funeral home ahead of time. There's something called pre-needs, and pre-needs allows you to plan your funeral ahead of time for half the price, if not
true.
more than half the price of what it would cost if you don't have $10,000 to get tomorrow to go spend on a funeral. Hell, $10,000, $15,000 the way these things have went up.
Hmm.
You better have a pre-needs or you better have some life insurance.
That's true.
One or
That's
the
true.
other. There are options that are out there, and I don't know if people don't have those options due to lack of knowledge or if it's just mom and them don't take care of it. I don't know which one
Yeah.
it is.
Well,
I
sometimes it's
don't like
lack of
either one.
knowledge, and then
Yes, sometimes it is.
sometimes it's because I've known many people who are in the insurance industry, and many of them talk about this. They'll post about it on social media how so frustrating they get when they get their licensing and that they try to first go to family members and say, "I know you don't currently have life insurance. Let me get you set up. Let me get you." And those people, I don't know, and then something happens and
Mhm,
then, like to your point, you one of the first people that they call about. Can you put some money on this funeral? Can you do this? Can you help out? And you be like, I tried to sell you a policy, but you was so concerned thinking that I was trying to make a big bang of money off of you that you didn't want to hear from me, and you didn't take
mhm.
any steps on your own. But now, Big Mama done died. Somebody else done died. Now you all in my face. Not even asking me about what you should do. You asking me for money. It- and we could have knocked this out. I gave you like a super affordable plan that would have
Hmm.
aligned with your budget for moments.
Hmm.
Just I told you that this was getting ready to that that this was probably going to happen sooner rather than later, but you totally ignored me. You blew me off. I can't tell you the number of folks who I've talked to that are in that industry that have shared these kind of conversations, and it happened, and then so.
Don't ask me for money if I've given you the opportunity to get a policy. And I used to be a life insurance agent
Hmm.
myself. And so
Hmm.
now I'm an adjuster. But as an agent, not it's certain people that I got to the point, like in the beginning, I was going to, and when sometimes when they would get the policy, they wouldn't keep it.
Hmm.
And so now y'all playing with my money because now I got a cat. Now I got a, what is it called?
Yeah, they got like that
Some,
charge back. You got
yes,
now,
that's what it's
yeah.
called, a chargeback.
Hmm.
I was very selective in the people that I even approached to buy a policy.
Hmm.
Because if you're not financially literate or you taking care of, like, if you're not even paying your credit card, you ain't gonna pay for this insurance.
No, you're not. You're not.
If you out here getting payday, you not gonna pay for this insurance. So I hate to be that person that was stereotyping people, but when you playing with my money, I have to, because them chargebacks ain't nothing nice. I used to sell life insurance, and no, because I get you get your payday up front after they done got the
Right.
policy, and they got the policy for 3 months, and on month four, your new policies are in the negative because of this chargeback from this other policy. Yeah, so no, no, thank you. That's ghetto, and I don't like it. So, I
But
don't like it. I don't like it.
hey,
I don't
I
like it.
I totally understand. I totally understand. But the ultimate lesson to our listeners is please take heed to what information Jazz is sharing. She has a wonderful book that kind of helps walk you through that process. A $20 investment will save you trust me, it will save you a lifetime of troubles and concerns when such unfortunate moments that are going to happen to everybody. At some point, we
Hmm.
all going to be at that point, but if you got kids, you got spouses, you know that there's other folks who's going to probably have to be the ones to step up and take care of things. Put them in a position where they can be successful in doing so, and doing it in alignment with your wishes. If you don't want no funeral, if you say you
Say
want to be
that.
cremated, then say that.
Say that.
Don't have them deciding for you what they think is best because they're trying to deal with their own. If this is my wishes, this is how I want it. You either follow along with that or you don't. Identify who you think that responsible person or persons are going to be that will carry out things exactly as you've stated. Have all your legal documents in order. Don't have your family members just kind of running ragged and dealing with all that. Because, like I said, if especially if you all are close knit anyway, they're already going to be mourning your loss. Don't add fuel to the fire even after you long gone and
Hmm.
cold, that you haven't left any kind of direction or guidance, and they just don't know what to do with anything. It's again, it's we talk about that fairness. Be fair to those that you leave behind, because you can't, believe it or not, you can be unfair even in death. You can be
Yes.
unfair if you not, you know, allow people to access to what they needed access to because you were too busy trying to hide something from
Hold
you. You
on
didn't want
to it.
nobody to know that you got this because they're gonna be big. Be selective, as you
Hmm.
stated, Jazz. Be selective as to who you make known whatever information about your personal affairs. You can't tell everybody because you're right. There are going to be some people who are going to be petty like that and be spending your insurance money before you even have passed away. So yeah, you do have to be careful about that. You can't trust everybody with that information, but identify, select one or two people. Worst case scenario, if it has to be a completely neutral party, like somebody of a legal matter, attorney, whatever, somebody that's says they'll send them to me and I'll
Yeah.
oversee all of that. Whatever that
Hmm.
takes, it's worthwhile the time and the investment to do that. And we're not, when we say investment, we're not even talking about something that would put you in a financial bind. In many ways they got plans and arrangements for all income levels pretty much. So The options are there. So don't let that be a thing that you miss out on. So I appreciate you sharing that guide of information that you have. If people want to get the book or any of your other writings that you have, poetry or otherwise, what's the best place for them to reach out to you at to
So they can
obtain that?
reach out to me. Yeah, they can most definitely reach out to me and I'll get them the website. I don't have the book uploaded on jazzsingleton.com,
Hmm.
but I will get that uploaded on there probably this week.
Okay.
But I will drop the link in your inbox so that you can share that link out where they can order it direct from the printer.
Okay. And that's for that as well as any other writings that you've done or any
Yeah,
other
so
events or anything. So
um, catch me on TikTok because I'm over there being myself, unapologetically myself at all times. But Arthur Jazz Singleton on social media on Facebook. I believe that carries over to Instagram as
mhm.
well. And I believe if you search me, Miss Talking All That Jazz will be my TikTok page. So I am on social media heavy. Like if I'm not working, I'm on social media.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Well
on
that
social media.
Well, that is awesome. That is awesome. Again, appreciate you so much, Jazz, for all that you're doing and being a part of this experience with us. I pray nothing but blessings over everything that you
Thank
touch,
you.
everything that God is leading you to do. Again, you are truly walking in your purpose, and I'm glad to hear that, and I'm looking forward to hearing more great things and great works that you're doing. So to my listeners, definitely follow along with her, keep up with her, because this is a woman on the rise, on the move. She's not done. She's just scratching the surface of the many things, the many blessings that
Absolutely.
she's imparting on people. So keep in touch with her, support her products and services, and just again glean from her experiences. Because I know many of you could take away some of the nuggets that she's dropped this evening on just how to deal with the challenging times in life. And again, for my listeners, if you've enjoyed our broadcast this evening, remember to please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. We want to encourage, inspire, uplift, being transparent, being raw, being vulnerable, being open about our challenges and our journeys, because we recognize everybody goes through something. My story might not be your story, yours may not be mine, but we're all going through something. But in the end, what is ultimately most important is that you have the right relationship with the right source, and that source is God. If you don't currently have that relationship intact, today is a mighty fine day to make that decision. I promise you it'll be the greatest decision that you ever make, and the experience, the outcome that will result as a part of that relationship connection will be something that is beyond anything that words could properly express. Not telling you something that we heard, we're telling you something that we know from personal firsthand experience. He has enough unconditional love to go around for everybody. So please be a part of this experience. Please jump on board if you have not already. Again, this is what we need. This is who we need, not only in the difficult times, but also even in the good times. We keep our right mind and focus because we need to understand where all of it comes from, who is the ultimate source. When all the other resources of the world have been depleted or they're nowhere to be found, he's always going to be there for you. So always keep that in mind. And remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is a place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and I thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight, keep leaning on to God, trusting in Him, following His guidance, His ways. He's never going to leave you astray. He's never going to forsake you, even in the most difficult of moments where it seems impossible, where it seems that there's no way to overcome that challenge or that obstacle. He can make a way out of no way. Just trust and believe in that, and you will not go wrong. He will not only bless you, but he will equip you to be a blessing to others. So until next time, you take care of yourselves and have a great rest of the evening. And look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.